Welcome, friends. I hope you are good. So, let's go to the story. The year was 1910. Cinema was just taking its first breath in the world. Far away from the noise of New York, in the western part of America, there was a small, golden, and quiet village whose name was Hollywood. Nobody knew that this tiny village would one day become the dream city of the entire world. But there was one man who saw something strange and magical in the beauty of this village, and he picked up his camera there. That man was D.W. Griffith, a director, a visionary, an artist. And from his hands was born, in Old California, the very first film ever shot in Hollywood. Wikipedia. In Old California was released in 1910. The film was only 17 minutes long, but these 17 minutes changed cinematic history forever. The film was made by the American Mutoscope and Biograph Company, and it was the first film to be entirely filmed, edited, and released in Hollywood. D.W. Griffith worked in New York. In early 1910, the Biograph Company sent Griffith to the West Coast. With him was a full caravan of actors: Blanche Sweet, Lillian Gish, Mary Pickford, Lionel Barrymore, and many others. First, they began shooting on a vacant lot near Georgia Street in Los Angeles. Then, they needed to explore different parts of California, and in this journey, they arrived at a small, lovely village, Hollywood. Griffith fell in love with this village. The people there were warm-hearted, the weather was sunny and reliable, and the scenery was so beautiful that any filmmaker's heart would overflow. He thought, a film must be made here. The actors who appeared in the film were Frank Powell, Arthur V. Johnson, Marion Leonard, Henry B. Walthall, Collider, and the most significant name, Mary Pickford, who was already a well-known actress at that time. Mary Pickford later became known as Hollywood's America's sweetheart and became the greatest star of the silent film era. But in 1910, it was her first step into a new world. The film was set during the time when Mexico ruled over California, the early 19th century era of Spanish and Mexican California. The story goes something like this. There is a woman, Perdita. She is a loving mother, an oppressed wife. She had married the wrong man in her life, Pedro, a wandering troubadour, a drifter. Perdita loved him, but love is not always enough. Apart from Pedro, there was another man, Manuela, a wealthy Spaniard who had stepped aside when he learned that Perdita loved Pedro. Manuela hid his pain, buried his love deep within the chambers of his heart. Years passed. Pedro fell into the trap of alcohol. He would consume Perdita's earnings. Their young son, who had now turned 19, also went down the wrong path. He drank and he stole. What did Perdita do? She wrote a letter to Manuela, who had now become the governor, requesting him to enlist her son in his army, so that something good might come of the boy. Manuela, who even after so many years could not forget Perdita, read that letter and took the boy into the army. But fate turned again. The son was caught stealing once more. Even in the army, he stole from fellow soldiers. He deserved punishment. Manuela read a letter, Perdita's letter. In it, Perdita had expressed her gratitude for the upbringing of her son. Manuela's heart melted. Instead of punishing the boy publicly, he disciplined him privately, so that Perdita's hope would not be shattered. Then came Perdita's final letter. She was dying. She was ill. Before dying, she wanted to see her son one last time. The son she believed had become an honorable soldier. What did Manuela do? He dressed the son in medals, false medals, symbols of honor, and sent him to Perdita, so that a mother could remember her son with dignity and leave this world in peace. This was the plot of In Old California. Small but deeply touching. A mother's love. A love left behind in time. And one man's silent sacrifice. Most of the film's prints and negatives were destroyed. Eventually, the film was considered lost. No one could find it for an entire century. But then came the year 2004. On May 6th, 2004, a monument was erected at 1713 Vine Street in Hollywood, just north of Hollywood Boulevard. This monument was created by Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And on that very day, the film was screened at the Beverly Hills Film Festival. It was the first time anyone had watched this film in nearly 1 century. Collider. Just think, after 94 years, a film came back to life. An audience sat there watching a silent screen, and a small story touched hearts once again. In Old California was one of the first films to use outdoor shooting, and it featured several technical innovations that later became a standard part of Hollywood films. After Griffith's decision to shoot in Hollywood, independent filmmakers began moving there, especially because they wanted to escape Thomas Edison's patent cartel that was casting a shadow over the East Coast. So in Old California was not just a film. It was the gateway that opened the door to Hollywood. Without this production, the movies we have today would likely not exist in the way they do. In 1910, in a small village of California, a director picked up his camera and gave immortality to a small story. There was no sound, no color, no special effects. Just a camera, a few actors, golden sunlight, and the silence of a village which had hidden an entire world within itself. Today, when we watch Marvel superheroes, when the Oscars take place, when the name of Hollywood makes hearts around the world beat faster, at the foundation of all of that lies a small 17-minute silent film. In Old California, 1910. This was Hollywood's first step, and that step was written into history forever and always.